Oh shit, I'm on the air. Sorry, I was singing a little bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance music. God damn, it gets me hyped. Welcome back to Mean Deans A-Z pay-per-view review. This is Mean Dean, as always, reviewing every pay-per-view A through Z. EC3. I don't know. I'm just going crazy now. In this podcast, we are covering WCW's Beach Blast 1992. There are two Beach Blast pay-per-views, one in 92, one in 93, and then the setup for Bash at the Beach, which takes over the remainder of WCW's existence. Thank God. I'm not saying Beach Blast sucked. I'm just saying that Bash at the Beach is much better, and it gets me that much closer to Bash at the Beach 1996, which you guys can hear next week. Holler back. 92. Man, just as a little bit of a reminder, we are on iTunes, Podomatic, YouTube, JG. Keep holding it down on YouTube. Twitch. We are on Facebook and Twitter. Go check us out everywhere. Of course, we're on Patreon. And then WrestleMania 34, live pre-show, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Don't call it a comeback. JG and Mean Dean together again. Sweet, sweet bliss. We got that bromance rolling that day. All right, everybody. WCW Beach Blast 1992. First note. Super, super 90s opening. It was a mix between like Saved by the Bell and Beavis and Butthead. It was incredible. I keep telling everybody I love the 90s. It's one of my favorite decades. Not only for wrestling, just in general. Something about it. I mean, come on. You have the Montreal Screwjob. You have Bret Hart versus Stone Cold. You have the president getting his dick sucked in the White House. 90s. Bischoff's shirt looked pretty dope, though. Everybody was wearing Hawaiian shirts. JR totally knocked it out of the park with the Hawaiian shirt. Bischoff did not button it up very high, though. Shame on you, Bischoff. And then Jesse Ventura is just up at the top of the stage, lounging in a chair with a bunch of women. What was really funny is he could barely get the fuck out of that lounge chair. So he had to have women physically help him up. And then he put his arms around them like, yeah, I got this shit. Oh, Jess. Oh, Uncle Jesse. Match number 1, Scott Flamingo versus Flying Brian for the light heavyweight title. Fun fact, WCW had a light heavyweight title. Also fun fact, that shit didn't last very long. Moving on. I've never heard of Scott Flamingo before, which I will address here very shortly. It just didn't look right. It looked... I cannot put my finger on who Scott Flamingo was at the time. And also noteworthy, Brian Pillman is an incredible talent, and I just wanted to add that. But for a guy named Flying Brian, he was not flying very much. But even Brian Pillman being green is an incredible athlete. And one of my other notes was that Scott Flamingo looks like a fake-ass Prince Iaukea because he had like blue and pink, hot pink tights on. I'm like, man, who the fuck is this guy? And then I said, oh, it's a 15-minute match. Yeesh. It was kind of a tough match to sit through because it just wasn't very interesting. And then I looked closer. And I was like, man, as soon as Scott Flamingo talked, I knew exactly who that motherfucker was. Scott Flamingo, in hot blue and pink short trunks, is none other than the ECW champion, the WCW United States champion, the WWE Hardcore champion, Raven. Go look that shit up. Just type in, who is Scott Flamingo? It's incredible. I had no idea that he played a guy named Scott Flamingo early in WCW. That was the highlight of the match for me. Flamingo did put some whack-ass move, though, on Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman tried to throw a crossbody. The only time he flew, he missed. Horribly. Flamingo, winner, new light heavyweight champion, and that's probably where it died. Johnny B. Bad came out, and you guys know how much I love Johnny B. Bad. Came out to host this bikini contest, which was like a three-tier thing to crown Miss WCW. There's only 2 women, so it was pretty whack. And I just can't seem to get away from Johnny B. Bad. I don't know what it is. Every WCW pay-per-view I've reviewed has Johnny B. Bad in it. I don't think I've reviewed a newer, more current WCW pay-per-view yet. So it's tough. And Johnny B. Bad basically comes out with a fuzzy dildo that he's holding and an incredible amount of makeup. He's wearing like purple lipstick. I'm not judging, but I am judging. And the funniest thing that ever could have been said, Jesse Ventura said it. He said, I don't think Johnny even likes girls. Very true. Although he did hook up with Sable. Very, very true. And it was Missy Hyatt. It was Missy Hyatt who came out to do one. And Medusa, who also was a Lunder Blaze, and then Medusa again. And Medusa actually came out in like a wedding dress. It's the first time I've ever seen her look actually decent. And that was it. And then they went back. Match number 2, Taylor Made Man versus Ron Simmons. My note was, damn! Taylor's the Rooster from WWE. Taylor Made Man. Why didn't they just call him Taylor Made? You could probably get that off in today's world. Simmons, Ron Simmons, man. Unbelievable amount of respect for that guy. He's arguably single-handedly paved the way for all black wrestlers to be successful. And I would say Booker T might be behind him. Ron Simmons' first ever black world champion, period. Just unbelievable respect for that guy. And I was thinking to myself, like, it's probably not going to be a good match. Terry Taylor, I'm not a huge fan of. Ron Simmons is a powerhouse. It's a power game. He's going to play the power game, a lot of holds, bear hugs, things like that, which is what happened. But he plays it well. It's not flashy, but he plays it well. And he ended up walking away with the dub. And afterwards, after I'm sitting here thinking, man, Ron Simmons is the fucking man. He paved the way. He breaks out the super motivational, emotionally charged interview right after. And he just said, listen, doesn't matter what nationality you are, doesn't matter what poverty level you're at, you can come out and be great. You can come out. And I'm like, God damn, this is a Black John Cena out here. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Match number 3, Marcus Bagwell versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg Valentine is the epitome of 70s and 80s wrestling. He is an out-of-shape, ugly lump that just somehow found success in wrestling. And I'm still waiting for my call, Vince. Where's that call, homie? I can throw bows better than anybody else, with the exception of Macho Man and Shawn Michaels and Eric Young and a lot of people. But I can still throw them. JR, of all people, pissed me off. It is weird because he normally doesn't. But he said, the Hammer is the master of the figure 4. I'm like, motherfucker, how many Ric Flair matches have you called before this match? That's crazy to me. Bagwell, the best part for him about this, he's a young guy. His pinning transitions were pretty good. That's about the best part for him. So he still had a lot to work on. Winner, Greg the Hammer Valentine. You think WCW put over a young guy? Fuck no. Match number 4, and arguably match of the fucking night. Cactus Jack versus Sting. Now, Sting was the world champion, okay? But this was a non-title match. And it was just an immediate great start. Cactus went out there before Sting, kneeled on the ramp, and waited for Sting. And then they just started the match right on the ramp. And for those of you who remember WCW back in the day, the ramp was always raised up to the mat level. So that's where the ramp started. And it was all made of this like wood framing type stuff. It was just an unbelievable story. And immediately, within the first 2 minutes, they were telling me a story that I didn't need to go look back further. I didn't crave any more of the previous stuff. I was just enjoying what was happening. It told me that these guys had a really slick rivalry. It was just a very good rivalry in general. And believe it or not, there is a huge difference from Sting of 92 and Sting of 99 in terms of agility. Most people would argue that Sting in 1998, 99 was at the absolute prime of his career. And early 1992 Sting was much, much more agile. And I know it's like, yo, well, duh, he was fucking way younger. Well, I know that, but what I'm saying is that some guys just don't take that chance. They're just green. They don't have the experience. But Sting in 92 was a bad motherfucker. Battling outside just constantly. And there's one thing I noted, which was kind of interesting. There was not one person under the age of 60 in the front row. So when they were smashing each other's faces into the guardrail, people were like fucking horrified. It was like you were holding some girl's hand in the 40s and you were talking about it openly in public. You cannot do that, okay? Suplex to the concrete from Sting to Cactus Jack. God damn, I mean, it's all concrete. There's no mats. It just looks nasty. And they're really just destroying each other. I mean, this is probably the most exciting match that I've ever seen in 1992 out of any wrestling. You know, Sting trying to hit a stinger splash on the outside missed. And I think that Cactus was supposed to catch him, but he ended up racking his ribs on the barricade pretty rough. And then Cactus put Sting up in a pile driver onto the concrete ground. You don't see this shit anymore. And I'm not saying because it's not dangerous, it's because nobody's that creative anymore. Sting got some momentum, started whooping his ass out on the ramp. There's your winner, Sting. Moving on to Starrcade to fight the man, Big Vader. Match number 5 and a very close second to match of the night. Rick Rude versus Ricky Steamboat in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Immediately, I'm like, okay, 30 minutes. These are two great competitors, but man, I need to stay awake for this. Because just wrestling back then is just so different. But honestly, they really kept me engaged. I mean, first, just right off the bat, noting that Rick Rude is one of the most cut wrestlers ever. Period. One of the most athletically gifted looking wrestlers of all time, and if it wasn't for his drugs and his alcohol and his bullshit, he might have been one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, period. You know, but Steamboat really ran the pace at first. It was just very submission heavy, just trying to wear him down, which is smart. He did some like standing crab. It almost looked like the Walls of Jericho. It was really cool looking. And although Rude was getting worked over, Rude's the one who got the first fall. And then he had another Rude awakening for his second fall. So it's automatically 2-zip. And you're 20 minutes in, basically. You know, Ricky gets one over on Rude, gets one fall, but then Rude does a quick roll-up, so it's 3-1. So it's very exciting, very back and forth. You know, Rude used his knees as a lot of offense in this, and they looked brutal. Lots of knee shots to the chest, to the head, to the side. Rude was definitely using his knee game. There's a really cool reverse. I mean, Rude was trying to put Ricky Steamboat in a tombstone pile driver, and then Steamboat actually moved back, reversed it, put him in a tombstone, and Steamboat got another victory. So now it's Rick Rude 3 to Ricky Steamboat's 2. Then Steamboat gets another roll through. It's 3-3. It's tied. It was tied for a while, up to about 33 seconds left, and Steamboat did a quick no-look roll-up to get a 4-3 gain. And then the time ran out before Rick Rude could do anything, so Ricky Steamboat was a champion. Johnny B. Bad returns again. What was really funny about this time, Johnny B. Bad coming out, JR got so tongue-twisted when it came to talking about Johnny B. Bad. He's like, oh, well, he probably doesn't like the men, he doesn't like the ladies, and blah, blah. Like, he was so tongue-tied that literally, if it was conversationally, JR would have been like, look at that faggot right there. It's not my words. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying, and I don't like the word faggot either. But all I'm saying is it just, that time, with somebody who is a redneck, supposedly, it could have easily fallen out of his mouth. Thank goodness JR is a professional. Match number 6, the Dangerous Alliance versus Call-Off, Rhodes, and Wyndham. This is just another one of throw-ins. Not a lot going on. Rhodes was still getting pushed. Dustin Rhodes, sorry. And it was still his mid-90s push with no payoff. Not a terrible match. It's not very exciting. It's just, this is the epitome of early 90s wrestling. It was kind of with a bunch of 80s wrestlers. So, I still, the end of the match essentially ended in a disqualification because somebody went on the rope and did like a double axe handle. I still don't understand the top rope disqualification thing. I'll have to look more into that and report back on it. Winner, Koloff, Dustin Rhodes, and Barry Windham. Taking us to our very last match, which is confusing because I thought the Sting Cactus match was hands down the best match. Dr. Death Steve Williams and Terry Gordy versus the Steiners. It was basically an hour time limit. And this is sort of a product of that NWA Bunkhouse Brawl, Bunkhouse Stampede that I talked about, that I reviewed, was these time limits were usually met. So you had the Steiners going against two hard-hitting guys. They're all trading blows. They're all essentially beating the shit out of each other for an hour. Rick Steiner gets a Frankensteiner at the very last second, does not pin, and another pay-per-view ends with no winner. How does that happen? How do you end a pay-per-view with no winner? And then it went to Bischoff, and Bischoff is like, oh, that's not the end of this rivalry. Well, no shit, Sherlock. There was no winner. It's almost like WCW made it a little too obvious to push rivalries. I don't know. They should have booked me as their writer, not Vince Russo. That is it for Mean Deans A through Z pay-per-view review and WCW Beach Blast 1992. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. My man JG holding down that wolf pack. Oh! Dun, 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 dun. Wolf pack is, I don't know the whole song. Podomatic, iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere. Do not forget to check us out April 8th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the YouTube 34, for the WrestleMania 34 live YouTube pre-show. My man JG and me going to be holding that shit down. Please reach out to us. Let us know if you want us talking anything, and then we're going to go. That's it for me, Mean Dean. Peace out, batches.